Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to talk about Eevee Heroes. You see, I told you the other day that Eevee Heroes was coming back in Japan, that Eevee Heroes was getting a reprint. And incidentally, Eevee Heroes has come back in Japan, and Eevee Heroes has had a reprint. All of this stuff is expected. Nothing unusual here. Here's the thing. There are a couple of issues with the reprint that we really need to talk about because, to put it bluntly, these reprinted cards are not necessarily the same as the original card, and that's going to bring some issues. So let's start off with the positive. And let's look at this tweet, which was sent out yesterday by 5526_snow over on Twitter, in which they pointed out that the reprinted Eevee Heroes is different in terms of the printing to the original print of Eevee Heroes. Now, what they've done here in this image is they have compared a Sylveon VMAX alternate art from the original print on the right to a Sylveon VMAX new print on the left. And yes, I understand that this is the kind of thing that could maybe tricked with light, etc., etc., but the cards are not that differently angled. You will notice that the one on the left is way shinier. Way shinier. And again, this person who has given the image, even if you don't want to believe the image, and the image seems fairly conclusive, honestly, even if you don't want to believe the image, the person has literally come out and told us, hey, that the shine is different. And this is a problem, because people in the Pokemon community are always looking for a way to differentiate. They're always looking for a way to make things different. And here's the problem. People are going to use this as a way to try and sell original print Eevee Heroes. As an example, one of the most annoying examples of this that I can find, that I can remember, is back with VMAX Climax. You see, when VMAX Climax came out initially, it had a card with a code on to enter a little competition thing, and it had like an advert on the back. And then, when it came out a second time, the back was a little different. That's right, there were collectible cards that you could collect the images of, that was it. There were collectible cards, and the first print had slightly different backs of the cards. So both prints had these art cards that you could collect, delighted to say that I did, but the back of them was different between the very first print and the later prints. So what you had was people selling quote-unquote first edition VMAX Climax, based purely on the fact that they had different backs of the art cards that you couldn't even tell until you actually opened up the packs and turned them over. But that was enough for people to be selling first edition VMAX Climax. It was ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely ridiculous. Because it all goes back to actual first edition. If you go back to the early days of the Pokemon trading card game, we had actual first edition. An actual first edition had an actual first edition stamp and differentiated it from not first edition. And then of course you had all those people that decided, and it just happens a lot, people will go onto Facebook groups and they will have exactly one first edition card and it will be base set Machamp. And actually, base set Machamp was always first edition. It was a marketing gimmick. There are non-first edition Machamp, and they're actually pretty rare. If you can get hold of them, that's kind of impressive. My point is, it's not actually impressive to have a first edition Machamp, and first edition cards are not a thing anymore. First edition VMAX Climax is frankly ridiculous, because it just depends on the back of the art card, which I'm sorry I am not in favour of. And this whole thing kind of annoys me. And now we're going to get this back with Eevee Heroes because you've now got slightly different holo patterns. I don't know if holo patterns is exactly the right way to phrase it, but that's what I'm going to use for the time being because it's easier. So we've now got slightly different holo patterns that people are going to use to be like, well, actually, this is a first edition or original print, or call it what you will, Sylveon VMAX alternate art, and it is far more valuable than your reprint, second edition, Sylveon VMAX. And I'm already tired of it. But this does prevent a little bit of an issue. And actually it is potentially a little bit of an issue because it is going to affect the aftermarket of the game. And I'll be honest with you, and I've kind of said this already, I find this stuff extremely tedious. People desperately trying to pretend the card is worth more. Nothing will ever be as annoying to me as the Cinderace that was printed with the wrong retreat cost in English and was never reprinted, so the only version that exists has the wrong retreat cost on, and yet people are trying to sell it as a misprint for loads of money, even though only one print exists, and it's just like an ordinary rare card. That one's still super annoying. So, yes, this is going to happen, and I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it's probably going to keep going. But there is actually another image that I've seen of the reprinted Eevee Heroes, which is actually very, very important as well, because if you look closely at this image, it will break your heart. And the reason it will break your heart, this was tweeted out by PKen516. Look at it. This is clearly a misprint of the Umbreon VMAX alternate art. There's clearly a shadow where it's not been printed cleanly, and this is a huge problem because look at it's not the VMAX, it's clearly the V and I'm being stupid. But my point is, this has clearly been misprinted, and that's a problem. Now, what I will say is this is still a beautiful card. It's still a card I would be absolutely delighted to pull, but it is absolutely worth pointing out that this is not, this is an example that I'm showing you. This is not the only example that I've seen out there. And I've heard of a bunch of this as well. It seems like the quality control on the second print of Eevee Heroes is not as high. Again, the reprint has only just come out. Take it with a pinch of salt. But it is worth pointing out that I have heard several reports already, and the reprint hasn't been out that long. I've heard several reports already of issues with the printing of the redone Eevee Heroes, and people having these kind of shadows popping up. And that is not ideal, because this will really affect the price of this moving forward. So, yes, the reprint of Eevee Heroes is important. If people think that this new holo pattern makes it less valuable because it's a reprint of the set, that is going to affect the value both of the after sales of the cards, but also of the packs. Can we identify the newer packs as compared to the older packs? I honestly don't know is the honest answer. There might be a different barcode or something like that, but that's something we need to consider. And then, of course, you've got the whole printing issues, as we see on Umbreon, and maybe that's going to affect it. Maybe the aftermarket for these quote-unquote second print Eevee Heroes boxes is going to end up being a lot lower for that reason. It is something to bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen. It is something we do need to consider. Now, in terms of the price of these boxes, it is actually coming down a little bit. Now, when I showed you, because I told you there was a reprint, so what we're hoping with a reprint is the price comes down. Now, when I showed you the other day, when I told you the reprint was coming, I showed you that over on Amazon Japan, I showed you two listings for 23,000 yen and 18,500 yen. Well, it's now up on Amazon. Well, there's one listing there for 13,000 yen, but I've opened it up on the side, and you will notice that there is a willing to wait 10,300 yen, which is honestly going to be in stock in a couple of days. So it is coming, if I'm honest with you. It is coming down. The price of Eevee Heroes is, this is somewhere in the region of half what it was when I showed you a couple of weeks ago the reprint was coming. So the good news is the reprint is bringing the price of Eevee Heroes down, which is clearly wonderful news. And also, right, let me be clear on this. If you want Eevee Heroes, now is the time. You can't really be hanging around for this. I showed you what happened to the price of Eevee Heroes. There has been a reprint. The price has come down. This is wonderful. Again, let me be super clear. All I can do is give you advice. I don't work for Pokemon. I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know that the price has dropped dramatically. Yes, this is still more than double retail, but boxes haven't turned up on the Pokemon Center online. Maybe they will. Although if they do, they're probably also going to sell out very, very quickly. But they haven't popped up on the Pokemon Center online. And although prices have dropped, it's still Eevee Heroes. And when this reprint sells out, and it depends on the size of the reprint, which I'm sorry, I don't know right now. But at some point, this reprint will sell out. And when it does, we're going to see Eevee Heroes going back to what it was before. That is to say, a ridiculous price. You have been warned. Is it an issue that there are reprints with different foil patterns? Quite possibly. Is there an issue with the reprint quality? Yes. Again, I'm not saying every single card is, but I'm saying I didn't hear reports of this with the initial print. I am hearing reports now, and I've showed you the Umbreon. So there are issues, and I'm sorry, but the price has tanked lower than it has been for a very long time. And maybe we can wait and the price will keep going down. Maybe the reprint is huge. That is a possibility. But I'm telling you right now, if I'm going to buy more Eevee Heroes, I'm going to buy it soon. Because 10,000 yen? No, that's not ideal. Compared to what it has been in the past, it's an absolute bargain. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you need to know about Eevee Heroes and the reprint, but now it's over to you guys. Did you buy any initially? Are there cards you really want? Are you going to buy any of the reprints? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus pods or answer all your Pokemon questions, join a Discord where we chat Pokemon and have a whole bunch of fun, like the lovely Landon Dastrup, who is one of our oldest and loveliest supporters, though all the supporters are very lovely over there. Landon is a very lovely person and has been supporting for a while. Thank you for the support, and thank you for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.